Hello, everybody. This is Brad Johnson, reporter with the Texan. I've got State Rep Matt Schaefer of Tyler here with me. Matt, how's it going?
Great, man. It's good to be here.
Yeah.
Good to see everybody at the convention.
This is a big setup. It's a lot of people here and a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of people from all over the state. I actually got to go pop into a Senate district convention, a caucus meeting from Dallas County where they don't have any Republican elected officials in the legislature.
Yeah.
So they invited me to come over and actually talk to them and get them pumped up a little bit. So that was kind of fun.
Okay. Yeah. You're East Texas right up there. And anyway, so what we want to talk to you about today is a tragic issue, obviously, Uvalde. There was the shooting last month. 19 children died, 2 teachers. And it has sparked a debate about guns, as every other shooting has. So I want to talk to you about what Texas law is like regarding guns, especially with schools. So if you could give us kind of a background on what is actually on the books here in Texas on that issue.
First of all, anybody who's not authorized by the school district is essentially committing a third-degree felony at a minimum for setting foot inside a building, or in the grounds of a public school with the firearm, right?
Yeah.
So if you're not specifically authorized, you're committing a very serious crime. So we already have very strong laws in place with respect to unauthorized people and firearms at public schools. Now, with respect to the teachers and staff, the state of Texas has had something for many years, going back decades, called the Guardian Program, and it's not really a formal statute. It's simply a framework, a compilation of laws that allow the school districts to handpick teachers or staff to get training and to carry a firearm on campus. Now, this is not something where you're compelling teachers who don't want to carry a gun to do so. No, these are teachers or staff who have a background check, they have the right temperament, they have the ability, they're willing to go through all the training, and they're willing to do what they need to do. That has been going on in the state of Texas for a very, very long time, going back decades, and with great success on the schools that have been doing it. And by success, I mean they've not had any accidental discharges or crimes committed by those teachers or staff members. They've had a very clean record as far as the way they've performed in that. With respect to what happened in Uvalde, I think there's a lot of fact-finding that still needs to be done, a lot of misinformation, sort of the fog of war that's coming out of that situation. But I think as the after-action reports come out, we need to see what happened. And one of the first questions I want to ask is, why wasn't some authorized person, some staff member, some campus police officer, someone armed on that campus who could have been there when it began? And it's my understanding that there was no one there when it initially happened. So I think we're well past the time in our nation's history where you can have any public school campus that has no person there who is armed in order to provide security. Those days are gone. And so the authorization exists to do that in the state of Texas, and certainly I would encourage school boards to take a look at that.
It's an unfortunate reality for not only Texas, but every state in the United States. Do we know how many teachers actually do this across the state? Is that kept?
Well, we don't have actual good reporting because there's a lot of flexibility in the law. The schools don't all, under the Guardian Program, they don't have a formal reporting process. Under the School Marshal Program, which is set in statute, and it's more, it has more red tape, but it's a more formal structure. You still have a small minority of overall schools that are doing it, but that number has been growing over the last few years. That number grew since the Santa Fe shooting in Texas. And so I know that in my district where I live, there are schools that are doing this.
Yeah. One of the responses to this that we saw at the federal level be suggested by a bipartisan group of senators, including Texas Senator John Cornyn, is a compilation of suggestions of appropriations. One of those is supplying money to help states implement red flag laws. That issue has kind of come up previously in Texas. It went nowhere. What is your opinion of a red flag law program in Texas?
I have such strong feelings about this. One, I think I want to say to the federal government right now, you can pound sand, okay? We have strong laws on the books in the state of Texas regarding the misuse of firearms already. And in fact, if you look at our health and safety code in a mental health crisis, we've already got some laws that are in place in the state of Texas. We have a lot of tools that our law enforcement already has, even under asset forfeiture, certainly under bond conditions when someone's been accused of a crime. In family violence situations, you have restraining orders. There are a variety of tools that are available to law enforcement and to the courts to take weapons away from people who are deemed dangerous. That's already the case today. But the idea that John Cornyn would create a financial incentive which will now be a bribe to the states, which will never go away. They'll put that in the federal budget and it'll never go away. It'll be year after year, session after session. They'll come to say, why aren't you taking this money for these so-called red flag laws? To me, is the height of a betrayal of the rights of Texans. Because a red flag law at its core is conditioned on a set of circumstances where no crime has been committed. Because if a crime has been committed or if a crime has been alleged, you're now into the Code of Criminal Procedure. You're now into the Penal Code. You're now into cops. You already have all those books in place. And so really you're talking about something that is a pre-crime act based on subjective evidence. And where does that go?
Yeah.
And you look at the mental health professionals in this country that are telling 14, 15, 16-year-olds to take life-altering hormone therapy that could harm them the rest of their lives, or even to have their genitals removed surgically. I don't trust them with this type of advice. We also see the politicization of these kinds of accusations. Well, you see the religion of the climate change movement and how people will go to extreme measures if they believe you're doing something to harm the environment. You may just have people who have a different viewpoint about the environment, a different viewpoint about marriage or gender or sexuality, and others on the political side of the spectrum would say, well, that is an extreme point of view. You actually have a violent viewpoint. You actually want to harm others with those viewpoints, so why don't we use the force of government to make sure you're disarmed? It's very dangerous what they're trying to do. To be able to take someone's Second Amendment right away from them, having not committed a crime, having not been accused of committed a crime, and then tell them you've got to pay money, you've got to go to court to prove that you should get your Second Amendment rights back. It's un-American, it's unconstitutional, and it should be resisted with the greatest force possible.
Guns are a big issue for you. You authored the constitutional carry bill last year, so this, especially after the shooting, this is going to continue to be an issue, whether it's school hardening or a push from Democrats for some sort of gun control. So we'll be watching as you guys reconvene next year. Anything else you want to say about the legislature next year when you guys reconvene?
Well, we got a lot of priorities that we need to look at: economic, property taxes, energy policy. The state of Texas needs to try to incentivize nuclear power, a lot of things to get our energy costs to come back down. We got to resist the ESG effort that is really harmful. We've got a number of fronts that we're going to have to be playing defense on, but we'll also have to play offense on some things as well.
Okay. Well, we'll see how it shakes out. Representative Schaefer, thanks for stopping by.
Thank you for having me.